born against the stream. It don't matter what race or creed or color. You love this land and you're my brother. That anyways, you know I'm gonna stand. If you say you can't breathe, I'll show you we can. Ain't never gonna stop believing. We were born for freedom. We're born for freedom.
This is going to break. This is going to be a big segment coming up. So, what happened in Queensland with the police? Have you guys heard this? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
This has just come out. They have fucking pretty much asked a whole bunch of men's applications in favour of gender bias quotas. They fudged psychological tests. They fudged a whole bunch of tests to let in women when they had able-bodied men who were above and beyond, in some cases, as candidates. Okay, this is Queensland Police, and it's fucked. Like, I just can't. This is really bad for the police, but just remember the ADF have also done shit like this. Yeah, we're in Victoria.
On the slide.
It's bad. Yeah,
I'm
and it's
sure
bad for the public because they're not getting the best that they can get.
They failed the psychological test. Who wants unhinged police with mental concerns, right, with guns?
If you take out gender out of it, if you were to take out the whole female thing and you just said they fudged the reports on the psychological test, everyone would be in an uproar. But as soon as you say, we did it because we wanted more women to qualify, it's just crazy. I can't.
It's nuts. Like, with the shit that goes on in Victoria, I reckon it's obviously been going on here. New South Wales, I don't know. They're pretty. They're even Stevens in some regard. But
yeah, they'll kind of pick between it. They'll just flip flop, I guess. Sometimes they like what Melbourne's doing. Sometimes they like what Brisbane's doing. Just depends on where the money's at.
New South Wales have a reputation for being strict. They're very strict.
Oh, well, have a look at our festivals. We can't do festivals in New South Wales anymore because of Gladys. She upped the price in security. So, to do a festival and stuff like that, you have to submit a form to government or whatever, and there's a bunch of, like, when you fill out your ID, you got to get a certain amount of points, right, to say you've got enough ID. This is kind of a similar system. You check the points and they kind of scale it on how dangerous is it, and they up the scalage for the festivals. And so because of that, you have to get more cops there. And who pays for the cops? It's not the public, it's the event hostess. Yeah, so the event hostess have to pay for all the extra cop duty. And so whatever.
They did that on the first onset of all the Conservative speakers coming to Australia. So when they had...
Did they?
Yeah. So...
That's interesting.
Remember Stefan Molyneux and...
Lauren Sutherland.
Yeah, Lauren Sutherland, when they come to Australia and New Zealand, and they just cut out all the media, fucked everything in one smooth stroke of the pen, right?
Yeah.
That was the catalyst to not let in Milo, Gavin, and that other thing, and they successfully derailed this entertainment philosophical conversation of conservatism.
Well, even with Milo,
disgusting. What brought me into join the Proud Boys, that was one of my leading things. That was what broke the camel's back, was that level of censorship. And I was just like, it has to be all true then. If they're going to this lengths to fuck with it all, and what they did to fuck with it, is they did that exact same thing, the police. They charged them a bill, $80,000 for security.
It was the same with Milo. I went to the one where Milo came to Australia the first time, and dude, there were police out the front everywhere. And down in Melbourne it was even worse. And the cops came up to Milo and say, "Hey, here's your bill for the security," and they're like, "What?"
There wasn't even the opportunity to offer internal security, i.e., us and other various people. You know what I mean? Like the people that they would have brought over, or local security companies. There was a big plan for the PD and everything to go into that.
You got to try out this game, right? I encourage everyone watching to play this game. Think of something fun, right, that you want to do, and then ask the next question: do I need a license for it? Because, like he's talking about the security thing, we wouldn't be able to do the security because we don't have a license. Fishing, you need a license. Driving, you need a license.
Victoria too.
A boat, you need a license. Some places to go camping, a license. It's just, oh boy. So
trying to push, remember, bicycle licenses.
Well, even now you got to hold your driver's license in New South Wales if you're riding a bicycle.
Really?
And if you actually, yeah, they made legislation a few years ago.
That's crazy, people.
Let's
You
do
have
it.
to carry your license. And if you actually delve into the legislation, you can't like even just ride your bike and have a few beers, or you know what I mean. It's technically illegal too. So it's one of those things. Once you start delving into the law and what we've actually got, you start realizing, wow, you can get pinged for just about anything.
The long march.
So we'll go to the next report. So Queensland Police service unfairly hired women to meet gender targets. The Triple C finds. So this is an ABC News article. The Queensland Police engaged in a corrupt manipulation and discriminatory practices to achieve over 50% female hiring target. A 50% target, fucking hell. So that's a big intake. An investigation by the state's anti-corruption watchdog found 3 people have been suspended in the wake of the Crime and Corruption Commission probe, which revealed they manipulated data, language and the truth to gratify executive aspirations. So they had now this is the problem. They had a bunch of top leaders who went woke, and now they've gone broke because they've been suspended. So fuck them. That's really good to see that they've had instant suspension with pending doom, I hope, because people like that give me the shits. I've worked in a lot of government institutions, and they're there. They're all at the top, and they expect you to abide by their culture whilst preaching diversity of culture. It's insane. And it's really prevalent in Victoria, obviously, and not so prominent in SA. It was coming up in some places, but there was still a lot of places that just kept it a neutral workplace. You always want to keep your workplace neutral and let it develop its own culture. Okay? You don't fucking force some shit from the east coast of America and the fringes of Europe on us. Okay? We're nowhere near any of that. We've got to develop our own work cultures, our own shit. And, you know, I just hate when fucking good government institutions, I mean, mind you, this happened in the ADF as well. The ADF did the exact same thing with these gender fucking targets. And I would bet a bit of crypto that Victoria is doing that too. And we'll get into a bit of crypto news as well later on.
Victoria do a lot of stuff, and there's no transparency whatsoever with Dan Andrews. So you just have no idea what the fuck's going on in the background until it happens. Like the Sky Rail. Look at that. Fuck that. If I was living out that
One
way,
Belt, One Road fucking thing.
No consultation next thing you know, bulldozers roll in. What the fuck's this, mate? You know, that's Dan for you.
Well, Sky Rails are so good, so you got rid of theirs.
Apologies for getting the job done. You know? Fucking the joint, more like it.
So it come from a lady, Commissioner Carroll. Carroll. Sounds like the new Karen. Who rose to the role in 2019. Said the report identified 6 women who graduated from the Queensland Police Academy, meeting all required standards despite not meeting the initial minimum standards. Not even the minimum standards. So she fudged the thing just to get the 50-50 target. So there she is. Oh, Cat Carroll. Can you just look at that face, and I just see dodge. I just see dodgy eyebrows, do anything to get the job done sort of face. You know what I mean?
You don't get in a position like that being a nice person.
No. And obviously she was, a sex supremacist. She was going after her own
What a sexist.
femininity. It's absolute sexist. A sex bigot. I don't know.
She's
She's
in a
fucking...
position of power, so it is sexist.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see who rocks up in the Queensland Police. This is a massive blow to their PR, by the way.
Nothing's going to happen to nobody.
You can check this video out because it's actually pretty
We've talked a lot
informative.
about women's issues, targets, quotas, positive discrimination and all that in various spheres of Australian life. We've even heard last night, of course, that spending on roads and bridges in a federal budget apparently ignores women because more men work in construction. Where do you go from there? For the latest...
That's crazy. When the girls start like lifting, a ton of bricks a day, or going up skyscrapers and doing window work, like all this shit, driving cranes, this, that, and the other.
But it's a virtuous pursuit, mate. You've got to have this virtue.
Well, it's just crazy. It's such a virtuous pursuit from such an unvirtuous place.
Well, it's all hypocritical.
Yeah.
Boys aren't fucking what you're looking for.
Some of this stuff. Now, a Queensland police and two civilian employees have been suspended after a crime and corruption investigation into the force's recruiting practices. In order to meet 50-50 gender targets, the Queensland Police resorted to selecting women who'd failed psychological and physical assessments and standards. They recruited people who were not up to standard because they were not men, because they were women. Now, to say that good police officers are hard to come by is pretty much an understatement. We all understand the job requires good judgment, intelligence, physical fitness and resilience. In order to keep us safe, police deal with the worst of society's failings. They deal with so many difficult experiences, seeing people killed, mutilated and decomposing bodies, helping sexually abused children, telling families that they've lost loved ones in accidents. They have to arrest violent offenders who try to kill them. If applicants or trainees are not up to the job, it's the force's responsibility not to employ them or to cut them loose. Otherwise, they're not only putting the officer concerned in danger, they're also putting their colleagues as well as members of the public in danger. And just consider this, over 600 female officers have been recruited as part of this botched scheme in Queensland. Now, some of them, no doubt, are good officers who probably met all the normal requirements and are the equal of their male counterparts. But unfortunately, a good portion of them simply are not. As retired former Queensland police...
Yeah, just imagine this,
Right?
right?
No, she's the ones that are qualified.
But all those people are out there currently serving the community of Queensland. They're out there. What arrests have they made on their judgment that is now legally flawed? Like what's that?
Nothing
Like
like
all the
that.
police
It's a
discretion.
virtuous thing to do.
That's interesting.
Imagine all the police discretion that's been abused. Because they in Queensland, they just they are discretion. They take everything on their word and they all gang up and fuck people over and all sorts of things like DUIs, the whole list of stuff that cops hawk people on, traffic fines and all that other sort of shit. It's pretty hardcore in Queensland.
Well, how did they doing getting guys with lift kits and stuff like that on their four-wheel drives?
They're guts. They're cunts. When I was a truckie, they were an absolute bag of cocks. And imagine like a couple of headstrong, maybe border personality disorders. People with mental health issues were let in as policemen and their discretion was used. What the fuck happened to all of those people? All those innocent people that got fucked over, maybe? You don't know. Queensland Police.
Someone was triggered from some shit that, tipped off their little fucking disorder.
I'll read this out. We've got a comment from one of our regular viewers. Here in America, the right to vote originally come with the willingness to join the army. Draft, for example. Women got the right to vote, but aren't required to sign up for the draft equally. What's your take on that, mate? Wasn't there the women's land army?
I'm pretty sure there was a bit of a proposal for women getting drafted in, and then there was a massive kickback.
How long ago was this done?
It would have been, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago. I just remember something.
Okay, so it's not.
It was a bit,
It's a film.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not something crazy recent. It's just something that just kind of triggered
Well,
a
it's
bit of a
still,
flashback.
It still needs to be equal. You know, I could
Well-
understand it being written like that 50 years ago when women were still venerated in the house and all of that sort of stuff, but not now.
Well, they say the origin of tomboy was for strengthening one's country. So, like, you know how you have the reserves and whatnot, you got the guys fighting. I think the tomboy apparently was meant to be like a women's equivalent of that, you know what I mean? It wasn't so much a weird, like, oh my god, these guys are guys, they should dress up like dudes. It was more like, hey, no, these are actually just capable women of doing incredible harm. And if you want evidence of that, you just have a look at Russia during World War II and how they were, like, when it was on that line with the Germans and whatnot, the Russians were using anybody and everybody, and they were holding the women and whatnot. They were doing the guns, they were doing the running and whatnot, and it kind of shocked the Germans and how ferocious the women were. So, yeah.
The best analogy I've heard, there's a speech YouTube video of an old veteran of some description. I think a Vietnam vet, but don't take me on my word on that. I can't think of the video, the name of it, but he gives a good analogy. He says, do you really want to be on the battlefield, girls, when you get captured? When fucking, the enemy are not exactly the most pleasant people, and that are going to do a lot worse things to a woman than they are a man. A man will usually just get a quick death, boom in the head, but you might get a slow, agonising death in that case. That's the first thing. Second is it fucks the dynamic of the troop. So we all know there's a lot of studies that have gone out to say how men coordinate better in an environment that's all male. Right? There's studies out there on that. There's other stuff about the dynamic of when a lady's put in, the whole thing changes. It can skew any which way into all these different existences. You know what I mean? It can shatter, right?
Yeah. Well, because you got some guys hitting after the girls, and then some of the girls rejecting some of the guys, and then all that kind of...
It goes to this. If women can give birth, men should be able to take the lives. There should be I know it's a morbid thing, but give and take. You know, you're equal, you're negative and positive. Women have a man can't make it, give birth to a child, and that's a very gratuitous act. You know, it's a very
but a woman can't have a child without a man.
A woman can't, yes, but also a man can't fight a war without a woman.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's when it goes down to a man's purpose is to inevitably be that stag and rut heads in the course of protecting the women and children and the culture and everything that they've created together. That's the man's duty, is to go out and die for that if needed and fight, That's just my take on it. I think that's another good reason. And also is the obvious scientific facts of how women will go into a situation different compared to a bloke, and the brain pattern thinking and all of that. Both strengths and weaknesses. Okay, both strengths and weaknesses, but also the physiological thing. You can't, unless we're pumping these girls up with testosterone mid kapuka training, I don't know what the fuck's they're talking about.
Do you remember that video we were watching with Bear Girls on the island with the women?
Oh, big time.
Competing?
It just broke down.
Dude, after we did that stream, I went and watched some more of that because it was actually, and I didn't realise, so it goes into it that those women were going to die. They had to call up the medical assistants a couple of times, and there was one girl that was just dehydrated as all hell. And there's that. Plus, when there's a pig, right? They hadn't eaten in ages, and then all of a sudden they're on the beach, and there's these two little pigs start coming onto the beach, right? If you saw that, what would you do?
I'd kill it.
Why? So you could eat it, right? What do you think they did?
I'd be eating it raw if I was that hungry. Fucking hell.
what they did is they went up to it and they were like, oh my god, that's so cute. And then they kept it as a pet. They didn't eat it. They fed it food.
They gave it the food they need to survive. And they kept it as a mat.
And
Did
then
they throw it into the bush?
It gets better, right? So they kept it for a few days and whatnot, and then all of it escaped. It got loose.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh damn. But then they went to try and find it, and then when they go find it, they came across this like pig laying on the ground. And they're like, yes, all right, some easy dinner. So they get it, but they find out this pig is like infested with some worms or whatever. Yeah, and they're like, oh no, this is not going to be good. So, but they tried storing in their water containers. They used one water container to store to see if they could recover it, but then they couldn't recover it, and so they just chucked it all out in the ocean. And now they've only got one water container and another one that's infected with all this other shit in it. And then, if you're in the situation, what do? You boil some water, right, to clear it out. Yeah. To disinfect all the inside. What do you think they did? No, we'll just use one container. We'll just use one container for a while. And then, yeah. And then one of the girls got so dehydrated, right? She's like dying. And then they ring up. They're like, "Look,
Stacey,
we may have to pull you out of there. But there's one thing you can do. You can disinfect that other container, and you'll have a good chance."
Oh, the end of the day.
Oh, sorry. I can keep going on because it was so good. They had the main group, right, and then they had the camp, and all that stuff happened while another group had gotten lost somewhere else on the island trying to look for water because they'd left the camp too to try and find them. It was so crazy. But then you have a look at the guy camp. No one was close to dying. Everyone was like, had plenty of food to eat. Water.
Out of the coconuts and shit.
Yeah, the biggest issue, the biggest strife that happened between the guys was some dude wanted to, he found a net and he's just like, oh, we can use this to fish. And some dude was just like, nah, mate, stuff it. I've been catching fish with a spear and we get one each day. Like, that's enough. And the guy was just like, oh, well, I'll test it out. And he failed a few times. The guy was like, just give up. But the guy with the net, he's just like, kept making improvements. And then one day he throws the net in and then comes out with like 22 fish. And the guy was just like, yeah, I'm really sorry, mate. You pulled through. And it's just like, what a difference, dude. What a fucking... Yeah, the women have to take a break. Oh, we should really be discussing this a bit more.
And you see how that was classic. So that dude was bringing in the bacon for everyone else, right? So we had a lot of kudos, right? So you had the other...
But initially he was shat upon.
Yeah, another alpha. Yeah, and you had the other alpha coming in. He was trying to reassert himself, right? And then he's fucking coming with the bacon himself.
Yep, so, but he was very, very humble about it too when he apologised about it.
Gentlemen, we've already been through our male craziness. The last 1,000 years has been pretty psycho, and we've calmed down. We're gentlemen now, so don't just relax, people.
Well, some would blame that on all plastics.
Yeah, don't get us started on that. That's a bit of fucking. We all know the plastics is fucking insane. I'd love to do that real red pill rage. I'll let you know in the chats. I reckon I'll be free during the day and stuff. But that sounds good. I'll come do that. Red pill rage. You should check her out. She's awesome. She's she's cool. She's got she's down with the Las Vegas PB. Maybe.
Okay.
She's down with some PB in the States, and good-hearted lady. She does live streams from like discos and stuff. It's fucking cool. So check her out. Let's get back into the news. Get back into this Queensland police thing. We went on a big tangent there, people. But the main point I want to get across is we were sort of going through how ladies aren't sort of good deemed for combat fighting in the military. I want to say this: when push comes to shove, and it's over the hills and away, we'll fight them in the caves, sort of shit. I will give you a go. We will fight side by side. Then is the time, okay?
Yeah.
But just give us our time to fail, before that happens. And then that's
In terms of medical roles, fantastic. I would love a woman to be looking after me if I was sick or if I was injured about, you know what I mean? Like, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and they should be properly utilised.
Yeah, and best person for the job.
Yeah.
As we're short finding, it's not.
Police officer Brett Geiser told Paul Murray last night. Have a listen to this.
Paul
The
Musket.
fact that good male recruits who passed all the requirements were overlooked in favour of female recruits that didn't meet the requirements. It's just criminal. How many police are out there now that are stuck with this, that's had an effect on the whole organisation that'll be there for years to come? It's not going to be undone quickly, and it literally could put people's lives in danger.
Now, the investigation found that around 200 male applicants who met the tough requirements would have been successful if it wasn't for this discriminatory policy. What a waste of talent. The police force is now belatedly revisiting those applications. Good luck with that. Chances are these blokes have snapped up jobs in other grateful organisations. Now, surely the force should have learned the folly of these policies from an example in Britain where Matthew Furlong in 2017 applied to join the Cheshire Police Service. He was rejected, and an employment tribunal later found that the force had unlawfully discriminated against him because he was a white heterosexual male.
Really not sure if it's a career I still want to pursue. Obviously, this has kind of shattered my
UK police is fucked, dude.
legitimacy of the recruitment process that the police force.
Thankfully, ours isn't as bad as that.
The woke problem going global there. Now back to Queensland, and let's not forget that this policy was a key imperative of the Palaszczuk government, and to the credit of the current commissioner, Katarina Carroll, she's the state's first female commissioner, one of her first actions in the top job was to put an end to this woke nonsense.
Oh, so Katarina done the
within
good.
the police ranks and to their
There you go.
reputation will sadly last a lot longer.
Unreal.
Let's cross live now to the president of the Queensland Police Union, Ian Levers. He joins me from Canberra. Thanks for joining us, Ian. You must have been worried about this issue as it played out over recent years. Did you have an inkling that it was this bad?
Absolutely, Chris, I did. And every time I raised it with the former commissioner and some of his senior staff, they denied this on each and every occasion.
Now, this is classic. This is absolutely classic because there's a lot of conservative unions still out there, and they get absolutely arseholed by every other. They've got like this dude comes from a conservative-ish police union. There's a lot of hospitals. There's some hospital unions that are got elements of conservative sort of people in there. And when I say conservative, I mean just like sensible people, just common sense. Down the line, they just want to keep everything as it is and plain and simple. Because you've got to understand a hospital environment or a police environment, it's a fucking frantic shitstorm at times. There's busy periods and low periods, right? And having that neutrality as you're walking around, but still having the freedom to speak your mind and engage with people that want to be engaged in conversation with, letting people converse freely at work, it creates a very good culture in those environments, because they need to unload, they need to have social cohesion, they need to have like a community and a trusted set of community in those environments. Because once you lose the trust in the work culture, it just goes to shit. And then those people are defending and curing you of problems. And you want them to be as motivated and have as much morale as possible, And they've taken it out of those industries. They've just sucked the morale out. And I think conspiracy or not, it does seem very well programmed. What would you do if you wanted to unravel the fabric of society? You'd fuck with the protectors and the healers and everything that binds it. So it's just an attack on all sides with this shit.
It always has been.
We'll skip that. Self people. But it's in honour of African culture, which is crazy. We'll get Red Pill Ray. She's joining us from her Maybach this evening.
What's a Maybach?
She's high flying down the boulevard in the Maybach with all the girls. Let's bring her on. What's cracking?
Hey, sorry you guys kept seeing me. I'm on my way to work.
Fair enough.
Oh, good.
You're a chef, aren't you?
I'm on my way to work in my male-dominated industry.
Must
So
be kicking some ass.
I'm always kicking. So, yeah, I just saw the news story that you guys just did about women who have failed competency tests. Well, guess what? The same thing's happening in the Navy right now. So our military is now being emasculated as well to provide room for women who probably don't want to join anyway to do jobs that they may not be qualified to do, and that scares the shit out of me. So seeing this article that you guys put up, man, that's troublesome. I can tell you this much. Coming from San Francisco, it was a lot, as you can imagine, it's a lot of that, pro-woman, pro-minority, pro-LGBT stuff. And I'm fine with all that. But just be qualified for the job. We got police chiefs, we got police officers in San Francisco that are 5'1", 125 pounds, soaking wet. Okay? What is a woman like that going to do when you're getting a call for some junkie meth head fighting people or stealing shit or trying to stab people outside of a store? What is a 125-pound woman do?
She's got to talk him down. She's got to use her verbal skills.
She's
She's going to be a psycho worker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what? I will say this. Working in a male-dominated industry myself, I see why a lot of chefs don't like to hire women. Let me tell you why, because I'm going to tell you what I've seen throughout the entirety of my fucking career. You got women come in there, they talk a good game, they act like they know how to cook, they act like they know how to lead, they act like they know how to manage. But then what happens when they got to call off because they got their period? What happens when they're just stressed out and they call out of work? Because women do this all the time in my industry. What happens when we need 100 pounds of potatoes prepped and she has to go ask a man to pick up the case for her? This happens all the time. Now, yes, there are women like me, who got the brains, they got the guns.
Got the cannons.
There's women like me who work really hard in this industry, and it's these basic bitches who are there for the equality ticket. They're there on the diversity ticket, and yet they can't do the job, and they end up making everyone's life harder. Now, if it's this way in the restaurant business, I can only imagine it's the same way in the law enforcement business. Why isn't anyone being realistic about this? It's not to say that women can't work in kitchens and they can't work in law enforcement, but then realistically, that's theoretically can, but realistically, let's look at what the performance is. Where's the proof of performance? I see a lot of proof of performance from women in my business. There's probably not a lot of proof of performance in law enforcement or the military. So let's just all be realistic about this. This is where diversity hires end up putting us all in danger. And I'm sick of it. If you ain't a bad bitch like me, apply for the job.
Well, there was another, I was in the union for the bit, and there was a thing, a case that they told us famously when they were training us, between two chefs, male and female, right? And they were both getting paid different money. And the lady was saving up her pay slips and was very excited, went to the regulator at WorkSafe or whatever it was, and at WorkCover, and said, I'm getting done for wage theft, because I'm getting paid less than this dude. And it went to court because they left it like that, and they went to court or something, and then the judge was going through the evidence, and they said, okay, break down the list of duties that you do. And they both broke it down. All she was doing was coming into work and cooking. So when the trucks would come for deliveries, urgent, okay, this squid has to go, or this lobster, XYZ, she refused to pick up any boxes or pick up anything from the pool room. And you get all these people that pick and choose every little, it's a kitchen, it's a fucking warehouse, it's a this, it's a that, it's everything, it's an all-encompassing fucking thing. It's not some, you get to pick and choose, oh no, I'm only just going to do the fryer, oh no, I'm only going to cut potatoes, oh no, I'm only going to, fuck off, you do everything. You have to do everything. You have to make a coffee, to make a dessert, to fucking this and that, all in the same thing. You have to clean, mop, this, that. unload, meet a customer. There's 100 things. It gets chaotic otherwise. If someone's just doing one thing like a spurg and thinking they can get away with it, it's crazy. And then girls will say, yeah, you know it, Red Pill Rage. You work in the... How many years?
I've been in the restaurant business since I was 20, so 18 years. I'm 38, so I've been in the business for 18 years, and this is what's from the beginning of my career to today. It doesn't matter what kitchen I'm in. It doesn't matter what state I'm in. Doesn't matter what type of restaurant. It's the same shit. Like, you'll find one or two females that are hardcore. They don't mind physical labor. They're a little bit more athletic. You know, they don't complain. They have a stronger work ethic. That doesn't come from being a man or a woman. That comes from just being a person who was raised right by your parents, raised properly, and so you understand there's expectations in a work environment that you may not like, but you got to do them anyway because that's part of the job. You know, there are one or two female. I can count on one hand how many female chefs I've worked with that are actually really good. And so, to me, if you get paid less but you do less, that's on you. And here's the other thing that I don't want to hear about when it comes to women anymore. And niggas too. I don't care. All right?
Niggas too. Okay.
You got the pass. You can say it.
So, you know, shit, I forgot my point. But it's just...
Quality chefs.
People don't want to look at the entirety of a situation. They just want to look at the surface. They want to look at the statistics and say, well, there's not enough of this group working at your business. That must mean you're racist or homophobic or whatever, or sexist or whatever. No, it just means that certain demographics of groups are not applying for the job. Do you know how many jobs I have gotten because I was the only one who showed up to the interview?
How many? A lot?
Do you know how many jobs I have gotten because I was the only one who showed up to the interview?
How many?
No, how many?
Many. And I'm not talking about just
I cut off at the best bit.
Cut it out.
I was the only one who showed up to the interview and I got the fucking job. Okay? It's not that hard. I'm sick of hearing them complaining. I'm sick of complaining. I'm sick of these diversity hires. We have diversity hires at the restaurant that I'm in right now. You know what our owner is doing? What he does is he hires people of color, get grants, to get government grants for diversity hires. And
Very nice. Bit of monetary incentive.
There are monetary incentives to hire minorities, which includes white women too. Okay, apparently. But here's where the giant mindfuck is. Okay, when you hire diversity hires who are not qualified, you get the PPP loan, you get the grant, and then they can't fucking cut it. You let them go, but the owner already has the money. So do you see how the diversity hire is a giant hypocritical scam? It's a hypocritical scam. White people feel better about themselves, but it does nothing to benefit the company in the long run because you've got unqualified, lazy-ass people there, and it doesn't do anything to elevate the careers and the paychecks of people of color or minorities because they end up getting let go anyway. It's like passing people through high school and then they can't cut it in college. That's exactly what this is.
Yep, 100%. We've lost the meritocracy.
It's
I mean, I don't know.
So is this all happening in San Francisco?
Oh my God, what a shithole. No, this is California. I've worked in California.
Oh.
I've worked in
Same
Nevada,
shit.
and I'm now working in Ohio. And Ohio is, I don't know if this is a red state or not. I thought it was. Yeah. Ohio is woke. Ohio is woke.
Whereabouts on the map is it? Is Ohio? Whereabouts was that on again? Was it on the southern border?
Well, I'm trying not to say what city I am in because it keeps.
No, just the state. Whereabouts is no, whereabouts? Like which state? Like whereabouts in America?
Other states around
It's
Ohio.
Ohio.
I think there's.
Oh, you mean cities?
No, just state-wise. Like, whereabouts is it?
States.
Is it next to
What are the
Texas,
states?
or is it along the southern border, or
I think
central?
I'm in kind of the middle. Yeah, central.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, the mid. The flyover states. But those are the best parts, in my opinion. I tell you, freaking my family is all culinary too. So my mother, we grew up in like having restaurants and stuff. I think they had about 12 restaurant businesses and stuff like that. Because in Australia, it used to be very good business. We became millionaires from. We lost it a lot, unfortunately, but we became very rich from just serving people food. Because I tell you, people always got to eat, and you make good food, they will come. They will line up. They will fucking.
That's when you know you're in a good place.
Yeah.
The line is huge. If you see the line is huge, and you see a bunch of fat people there, you know you're in the right place.
And the smell. You can always tell if there's a good cooking smell and that's wafting out. That brings everyone in. You know what I mean? If there's good meat grilling and roasts and all this sort of stuff, like...
Good sauces,
it's just,
fresh bread, vegetables, that'll bring people in. Oh, I wanted to say one...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Have you ever considered doing a cooking show?
Well, to be honest with you, and I know you and I don't know each other super well yet, some of the Proud Boys know about my story and some of them don't. But the way that I started in politics was actually through this business. I had a podcast called Beer Talk Radio for 2 years. And basically what I did was I did cooking with beer, I did beer pairing, I did beer reviews, I went to different breweries around the country and did reviews. And it was a pretty good podcast. You know, I'm number 8 in the top 20 craft beer podcasts in 2020, which is weird because I stopped doing it in 2020. But nonetheless, I'm not saying that to brag. But what happened out here was when George Floyd happened last year, every single brewery, every chef, every restaurant, every food business, every business that I had worked with, respected, everyone that I was following on Instagram, all of that woke. And then all of a sudden, everybody was on that Black Lives Matter George Floyd shit. So prior to that, the crazy part is most people didn't know I was conservative because I never talked about politics on the show. All I talked about was food and beer. So when I came out, like I basically lost my shit. I snapped. I came out. I started going after every celebrity. I started going after every brewery. I started going after every restaurant that I knew that was supporting that communist bullshit. So then that's basically how I started Red Pill Rage, was that I got kicked off of Instagram as Beer Talk Radio for speaking out against it. And so I was like, fuck it, I wanted to start my own YouTube channel. And then 2 months later, I was at a walk-away rally and I went viral. So that's how I started that's how Red Pill Rage was
Cool
born.
beans.
Yeah. So, but just so you know, I am putting together kind of a fun cooking thing. So when it drops, I'll let you know. I definitely want you to see it. I think you'll enjoy it. So I'm going to find more ways to incorporate cooking into my channel. Just because, I love it, you know, and it's kind of a nice relief to talk about, you know, sauces and fruits and vegetables, and is talking about, you know, our corrupt government and pedophiles.
You can be the black conservative Martha Stewart.
Exactly.
Just don't go to prison.
I would love to be her.
I can introduce you to a version of Martha Stewart that I know, and she might be keen to like a young and old sort of cooking segment. I don't know. I'll introduce you to it.
Okay.
I'll see if you. I don't know if you can do a fucking live streamed, you know, both of you like interacting like that, but we'll see. Just an idea I had. Anyway.
I would love to do that. That sounds great. Anyway, gentlemen, I'm glad I caught you. I don't usually catch your live streams, but I'm coming up. I'm about to park the car at work. Hey. You know what it is. I love you guys.
Proud of you, girl.
Proud of you, girl. Have a good one. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Have a good day, guys.
See ya.
You too.
So that's Red Pill Rage, people. The link is in the descriptions of all the feeds. She's
Oh,
a lovely
lovely
lady.
Yeah.
She's a lovely lady, and she's very sensible and got a good set of ideas and ethics, and very proud of her. She's a good girl.
Yeah, I'd love to see this cooking channel thing. That'd be great. 18 years of cooking. I mean, surely you'd pick up a few good skills. Let's put.
The beer thing was awesome. She
Oh,
was like
yeah,
going to all these.
I can totally see why Proud Boys get involved in that. Like when you got beers and Proud Boys, they're just meant to go hand in hand. I might just take a quick piss again.